welcome to another Lighthouse Wellness Community podcast. My name is Donagh McKeown.
My name is Frank O'Connor.
And you're welcome to our podcasts. Let's hear our mission statement.
Our mission statement, folks, is that this program is designed to encourage open conversation around wellness, mindfulness and healing. As part of the Irish diaspora, Donagh and I, we like to bring an Irish dimension to the conversation. Our hope is simple, to break through the stigma around mental health issues and to bring awareness to the many ways to recovery and the many ways to a healthy way of life.
So I think following last week's pretty heavy discussion, we're going to kind of actually continue along that particular theme, Frank, because it's raised a lot of conversation within the community that we're kind of developing and worth talking about always, because I think the more that you mention the word and talk about it in an open way, suicide, it breaks that stigma. And we're going to continue doing that.
For sure. I had more than a couple, quite a few people reach out, respond both on Facebook and private messaging, phone calls, and talk about their own personal experiences. So we'll focus today, folks, on what solutions are available. And again, solutions that both Donna and I have found from our own experience, because really what is valid is what I can talk about, which is my own experience and some of the things that have certainly helped me and that I use to this very day in dealing with mental health issues.
So let's go back to the subject. First of all, we had to talk about it in light of many major kind of news stories about one or two people in the public eye that had taken this choice, made this choice, and we moved on from there. At all times, and it's the same as you've already pointed out, we focus on our own experience and what we can do and our own judgment within our own judgment. We're not making judgment for a single second or delving into anyone else's other existence. Perhaps maybe with a few quotations that people put on our Facebook page, but we're certainly not going into the past of what people did or didn't do.
No, that's no desire whatsoever to do that. Again, I would say thank you to everybody that reached out and sent some really heartfelt messages to us, and some of your own personal experiences, and some, very drastic stuff. A lady, in the last couple of days who, her daughter survived a suicide attempt just this week. Another friend who lost two family members and a friend, all to suicide. It just, I won't give you a litany, but it just goes on. It just lets me know there is much suffering out there. There's people in a lot of pain out there. And also, I wanted to talk a bit about, like we did last week, but again, to bring it further out, those survivors, those who are left behind, family members and friends even, because the impact of a suicide ripples across a huge pond. It's not just, immediate family members who obviously are drastically affected, but you see it rippling out to friends and folks that maybe didn't even know the person that well, but are deeply impacted by suicide.
I would suggest that the idea of suicide comes from the loneliest of places, the remoteness of your own thoughts, and that being detached entirely from every single being and every single thing on the planet. So therefore, for me, it's easy to say the way to recovery. Anything that takes you away from that singleness that you're in with someone else, even if it's just one person, and then developing into the world, because it's being on the outside or feeling on the outside, and you really want to be brought back into the inside. Is that too simplistic?
No, it brings two very important things to mind. One thing, resources, a community. Hugely important. And thank you, I won't mention somebody's name, for giving me information on a Facebook internet group called The Circle, which is designed for survivors of suicide, family members and survivors. So feel free to reach out to that. Regardless of the form of depression, so let's just talk about that very quickly, whether it's clinical depression caused by chemical imbalance, whether it's a result of circumstance, I'm forgetting that there's a terminology for that, but essentially means that a certain set of circumstances initiated the depression. Could be a divorce, job, whatever it may be. That's another form of depression. Or the one you talked about, loneliness, is a big one. I spoke with a lady this week who's late 70s, friend, and she said to me, I'm isolated, living in San Francisco on her own, no friends, not very much mobility, having trouble getting around. So very isolated in her apartment in San Francisco. And honestly said to me, Frank, I honestly pray some days that I don't wake up because of the loneliness. One of the things I heard many, many times, it's like there's a wall, a big solid wall built around the depressed person. And we know what that feels like. And the idea is that there are people on the outside trying to chip away to get in. But this person said to me, the real truth is, unless the only way out of that is from the person on the inside beginning to knock the wall down. So if in any way you're out there feeling any of the things we spoke about, whether that be loneliness or chemical imbalance or circumstantial depression, just in a very low place, if you can at all reach out to one other person, it doesn't matter. Obviously, it'd be great if it's a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a social worker. But if not, a friend over a cup of coffee, and just acknowledging the fact that those things are happening to you can begin the healing process from the inside out. You're beginning to break the wall down.
It's back to that story of you can't bring anyone to awareness. They have to be in a position to be open to that awareness. And in a more dramatic sense, some point and some part of you has to be ready to kind of push forward, even though it's a desperate situation. And I suppose this is where I know where I can kind of intervene to some degree, but once again, I'm not the playmaker, is to be there, to be that little kind of man with a hammer, that chink of light. And it doesn't mean in an invasive sense. It doesn't mean, are you all right? How are you? What are you doing? Or whatever. It doesn't even need, and that's fairly simple. It's hello, and how are you? And smile. And be a beacon of some sort. That's the simplest way of doing it.
Yeah, can I sit there and hold space for that person?
Yeah.
But I don't have to come up with massive solutions. I don't have to do, just simply by being a hearing device, let the other person talk. One of the biggest things about that I was trying to go over in my own self today, what are the resources, what are the things that I continually use on a daily basis? The biggest one is present moment awareness. And we could again talk about that quite a bit, because we have. But let me break that down a little bit. People talk about mindfulness, which of course it is. Can I be aware of exactly what's happening right now? Meditation, whether that's through, and let's talk about that, the different forms of meditation. Simply focusing on breath, taking a mantra or a saying or a prayer that has a deep meaning for the person. It could be even the name of Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, whatever it may be. But something that has a deep meaning for the individual person, and just gently repetitive motion of saying that over and over again. The rosary that we grew up with as Catholics is a form of meditation. The Buddhists have their own prayer beads as well. Essentially what you're doing is, by putting attention and focus on whatever that may be, whether it's breath, prayer, mantra, prayer beads, you're taking attention and focus away from that thinking mind. And as we spoke about last week, I gave that example of getting hit with, out of nowhere, a suicidal thought coming back with no relevant circumstances going on around me that would warrant me having that. But because of mindfulness and meditation that I engage in on a daily basis, I was able to see it, recognize it, acknowledge it, and say, I see you, I recognize you, I understand that you're coming in, but I'm also recognizing that you, as a thought pattern, are not me. And just that separation is massively important. The separation from the thinking mind and getting to the moment. Eckhart Tolle has a great quote. I actually want to quote it here if I can. Bear with me, sorry.
A great philosopher
and he says, when you...
Meister Eckhart.
Meister, exactly. Yeah. When you deeply accept this moment as it is, no matter what form it takes, you are still and you are at peace. So what he's saying is, regardless of the set of circumstances that are going on, and people could be in suffering and in deep pain set of circumstances, if I can accept the moment, regardless of what it is, and just be with it, I will go to peace and stillness. You know, that old saying, prayer we've heard, be still and know. There's, you know, that in and of itself. Somebody asked me, I was talking to somebody this morning over a cup of coffee, over 65 years of all the different modalities and spiritual classes I've taken and different things I've been involved in, and mental programs that I worked through. What would I say if I had one thing to lean on? What would it be? And for me, it absolutely would be in the present moment. When I can stay in the present moment, there is no conflict. There is no issue in the present moment.
A very hard one to learn for many of us. And yet, well, I had a great example yesterday. I was out for a day with a friend, and we weren't even in nature, we were just in each other's companies, and me listening to his stories and he listening to my stories. That company was just great, just so natural and just good fun. That's a different situation if you've either tried to commit or contemplating to commit. How do you get from that point of commitment or mindset to the other is a really very difficult one to give advice on, other than say, well, listen, even watching this podcast, that somebody is talking about it, so somebody has got through. Look for examples of people who've got through it. That might be another way too.
Yeah, again, the support systems that we talked about. You know, there are just go online, folks. There are lots and lots of different support. If you're in immediate crisis, obviously reach out. National Suicide Prevention Line. Each county, each city almost, not every city, but most cities, all big cities have a suicide line. All counties across the United States have suicide prevention lines that you can call. And if you, moving slightly beyond that, if you can get through the immediate crisis situation, you know, please get to a psychologist or a psychiatrist would be the next one, social worker. And then the next level down, as you begin to get stabilized, reach out to community, to some kind of a recovery group, even if it's just a couple of people getting together as friends to speak about what's going on with them on a daily basis and what they're finding is working for them.
It's even just being able to talk to one person and use the word. It's one of the, as we've said before, if you're someone who's aware that someone might be in that position, to get them to actually answer the question or use the words, even using the words yourself. Can you get to that point? Because you've got it out there.
Yeah, for sure. It's the acknowledgement. It's the old thing we've talked about before. Any of the recovery programs, regardless of what it may be, usually any of the addictions, and there's now something like 200 12-step programs, for example, on all sorts of various ways of recovery. All of them, and even outside of that, some of the Buddhist path to recovery too, they all talk about acknowledgement of the problem as being number one, step number one. I got to recognize, I got to acknowledge something is wrong, or something is not my way of dealing with life, my way of thinking is not working at all. And that's acknowledgement number one.
Realization, I think I was reading a little article about it today. I'm reading, again, a great book that I read many years ago and have to read it again now. It's I was mentioning to you, Wayne Dyer, and every solution, every problem has a spiritual solution, where it talks about, firstly, that any problem or any situation has to begin in a realization that there is either an opportunity or that there is some way of thinking differently about the situation. But you have to realize that you are thinking something that's negative, and just without blame and without torturing yourself, that why am I thinking this? It's crazy. If you can get to that point, because otherwise you become very, and I think you mentioned this yourself last week, you become very rational, and your rationale, all the thinking that's bringing you towards taking the act, and everything that you do, you know why you're taking it. but it's based on the original premise that's not really very well founded. So if you can even get to that, stop and recognize, it's the recognition, realization, and all those sorts of things.
And a great realization too, that everything can, will, and does pass, regardless of what the set of circumstances. Example, through my 20s, as we spoke about last week, I had many episodes of suicidal thoughts, hospitalizations, attempted suicide, depressive moments, weeks, months. And it seemed that would never end. That was my life. And it went on for 10, 15 years probably, actually, most of that time. The truth is it ended. And the truth is that all things end. It also reminds me that good things, the good times also, this too shall pass. So in the moment of present moment awareness, or happy times or good times, worth remembering, this too will pass. Therefore, let me grab it with everything I got and savor it and really live in the moment. Because in that moment, there is no problem.
I think I reflected last week as well, and similarly, I can think every time when I was coming through the depression after my brush with the suicidal, not so much an attempt, but the fearful, frightening feeling that I was going to end up taking my life. But thereafter, over the next 5, 6, 7, 8 months, right through for 2 or 3 years, every time I heard about someone having taken their own lives, that urgency, that anxiety came directly back to me. And thankfully, it passed within a day or two. I was less anxious about that. But I was fully cognizant at the time that I was anxious. And as you say, when you get into a new space, a new place, a new way of thinking, a new community, it just kind of dissipated. It didn't frighten me as much. So that when I heard of recent circumstances, I didn't panic or I didn't feel that anxiety. I just felt for the pain and the compassion for those people who took that step or otherwise. So yes, you do change, and it can change, and change is coming to anyone who's there listening.
Yeah, I had a friend who always said that the only constant in life is change. The only constant thing in life is that it's continually evolving and changing. What you were bringing up to mind there too, again going back to the realization that the thinking, because if we go back to times of deep mental instability, the thinking mind was in full control, in full flight, and very intensely real. If I can take a moment, any moment at any time, to realize that underneath the thinking mind is who I truly am, that I am not that thinking mind, regardless of how real it seems. Hence we get to that idea of, can I be an observer of my thinking? Bring it back a step. That's meditation, mindfulness training. And anybody who's having any kind of mental issues, regardless of what they are, but bring it all the way back just to stress, living in the planet that we live in today. An inordinate amount of people are working off stress, anxiety, not debilitating anxiety, but chronic daily anxiety. If you can find time or find a way or get to some classes to learn meditation, particularly mindfulness meditation, which is just simply bringing you into the moment, I highly, strongly recommend that. And here, just quickly as resources, here in Petaluma, we have a lot of resources. San Francisco, tons of resources. I personally lead a class in meditation every Wednesday, 7 o'clock, One Mind Dharma in Petaluma. If you're in the area, please come on. You can learn how to meditate. Anybody can learn how to meditate.
It's taking the first step and just putting it out there that you want to know. That's certainly the way of it. You've done it before. We do it on the weekly meditation. What's the quickest way to meditation?
Great question. I'll keep it as simple as possible. If you can sit, and if you're at home right now, just follow with me for a moment. If you can sit still, just be comfortable sitting, find a comfortable position, and it's just sitting straight in a chair, that's fine. You can put your hands in your lap like that, or put them on your knees, and then just gently close your eyes. Or if that's difficult, just stare at the floor right in front of you. And just do that with me right now. And the very simplest way of meditation is to bring attention to breath, because breath is automatic. Breath doesn't take any effort at all. So if you can just come to breath, and you can do it in the following way. Breathing in and out to the count of 1. Take a slight pause. Breathing in and out to the count of 2. Take a slight pause. And continue that process up to 10. When you reach 10, simply begin again. That's the process. And I will say 2 things that are happening. One, as you're doing that, you're drawing attention, because we have control over attention and focus. The mind, when it's thinking, seems to have all the control. But I can choose where the attention goes. When I bring attention to breath, I've released it away from, I've taken it from thinking mind. In the process of breathing, rest assured, putting your attention on breathing, the attention will be drawn back to thinking. That's okay. We're not trying to control thinking. That's a pretty difficult thing to do. But by continually bringing attention gently, let's say I'm counted up to 5, and all of a sudden, oh my God, did I pay that bill today? Oh, I better return that call. My boss needs that report tomorrow. It starts swirling. Off it goes. Once you recognize that thinking has begun again, just simply acknowledge, oh, okay, there's the thinking mind. I acknowledge what's happened. My attention has been drawn back to thinking. I recognize you, and I now choose very gently, without any judgment, to bring attention back to breath. If you can do that for 60 seconds, you will begin to have an impact on your life. That little on a daily basis. Then if you can get to 2 minutes, 5 minutes a day. And normally what I would say, if you're starting out, aim for 5 minutes. Don't be trying to meditate for an hour. You can do that, but it takes time and practice. Anybody can meditate for 5 minutes. Even at work, it means going to the restroom, closing the door, sitting down, and just bringing the attention to breath. And even if it's 5 minutes is too much, drop it down to 1 or 2 minutes. So that would be the simplest way, Dana.
And most notably, they're doing it in schools right across, not just America, but across the world. They've probably been doing it for years in other countries, but certainly it's come to the fore now, hasn't it, here? Where you teach it when it's young, it's a natural thing, and it's a realization that it's all right to be quiet. Because not alone in our minds are we quiet. When you're in a room situation, when you're in the dynamic of a classroom, you're in the dynamic of work, you're expected to be at full pace or talking or busy or whatever. What's wrong with stopping and putting a little space in your day that you can do that anywhere from school years upwards, and maybe bring it into the home where you can do it at the home, and it's a non-judgmental 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes where we're just all at peace. No one's asking a question. Mommy, is the dinner ready? Should you do your homework, son? Those sorts of things. Just peace.
Yeah, because in that peace and stillness, we find several things. Number 1, relaxation. We start to slow down. Again, that's even measurable. If you want to try it yourself, take your pulse before you meditate. Take your pulse afterwards. If you have a blood pressure machine at home, check your blood pressure before you meditate. Check it afterwards. You will see a pretty interesting drop in both those numbers. And it happens very quickly. Relaxation, number 1. Peace of mind, number 2. Entering into the silence. Taking that opportunity to bring questions forth, like we've talked about. Something that's an issue that you're trying to get an answer to, resolution. In meditation, there's a process that's called dropping the problem into deep mind. So in the quietness, take the problem, surrender it, just let it drop down into deep mind. And don't think about it again, and let it percolate back up again in maybe the next meditation. As you go deeper, it then becomes, you will get to a moment or moments or time where you begin to feel the essence of what's beyond thinking mind. You begin to feel that there's another thing going on internally. It's the observer that's watching the thinking mind. You can even observe the observer. I don't want to go too deep. But as that begins to happen, you get that sense of, this is way bigger than I thought it was going to be. But at the end of the day, it's all about connecting to the energy source that we all are. That's impermeable, that's never disturbed. If I think back on deep depressive moments, there's a part of me that I can look at and know that even in moments of deep despair, or in your case, the psychosis that we've talked about, Donna, can you think about, as I have, that regardless of what was going on, there was that part of me that was undisturbed. I couldn't tap into it at the time, but it was always there. That's kind of where meditation will bring you to, that regardless of circumstances, you will find an undisturbed space. What Buddhists talk about, the presence, the eternal presence. It was, it is, and it always will be. In the words of Jesus of Nazareth, before Abraham and Moses, I am. You know, what was he saying right there? Again, I don't want to get into big philosophical or theological debates, but that's the essence that all spirituality, all religions, all modern psychologists begin to talk about, go to the deep inner part that's undisturbed.
There was a fascinating part of, once again, what I'm reading at the moment, Wayne Dyer, and it jumped out at me at the page once I saw it. You were saying about going into this meditation, and he was talking about the same thing. And he was saying the philosophy for many of us is to look for the answers. And if you do ask your God or your universe, sometimes those answers will come back. But he believed, and I can understand why, that you turn that thought of asking into, how can I serve? How can I serve? Because he was suggesting, and I can get this because I'm a believer in this karma principle, and it was a karma principle, that you get what you give, you reap what you sow. So if you're sowing doubt, or you're sowing, I need help all the time, well, the universe might come back and give you problems all the time. Whereas if you go to the point of where, how can I help others, that the universe comes along and helps you. Now, it was a different take on a similar thing, but it was that mindset, and it just switched the light on. I've been doing the latter for so long. Why not do some more of it? And I've heard you talk about it before many times. How can I help someone else, or how can I do this? And some of my psyche is in that. But I just thought it was just that simple mindset in the point of meditation that might bring you a different result further down the line. And maybe that's too heavy as well.
No, I'm with you totally, because in and of itself, once I became well, I'll just use that, better than I was, in a well place. So we talked about wellness. You don't even have to force it. Once you find, I found a solution, it immediately wants to transfer into, I've got to share this. I've got to let other people know. So the service comes about. So the two things I would say on that. One, if you're in a critical crisis situation, don't worry too much about service. Just get well. And that's for sure.
That would be a point.
Yeah,
yes,
that's for sure. We both absolutely agree on that. But know that as soon as the wellness becomes apparent, you're going to innately, that was the word I was looking for, feel a desire to be of service, to pass the message on. And trust me when I tell you this, once you begin the recovery process, you won't have to go looking for it. It will find you. I mean, we get people reaching out all the time. I don't have to go looking for people to be of service to. It will show up. Once the universe, I'll use that word, understands that you're now in a space of availability, that space will be filled. That's what I would say. And you're doing it too, Don. We're both involved in service work, for sure.
Ploughing our trough, as it were. I hope that's useful to those who find them in a situation. There's no guarantee, as you always know, that you're in a position to recognize when someone is talking about what's in your head and needs to come out. So there's no guarantee anyone who's in the situation is watching this. It will help those who are on a periphery, who are either in a position to see this, to help hopefully move forward. That's the only reason for doing it. There's no other sense with doing it otherwise. So hopefully we've kind of, shone our little light, as it were.
Yeah, I spoke one time at a school, high school, teenagers, late 17, 18-year-olds. And I said the following: please understand, there are those out there who are suffering from depression and addiction. There's no doubt about it. In 300 or 400 students, for sure, there are addicts and mentally disturbed folks in that audience. And my idea was simple. I told them, if I can reach one of you, my job is done. There are those of you I am not going to reach. With all the best intention in the world, with every fiber of my being, desire to be of service, it may not happen. But if Donna and I can reach one person out there, one person, our job is done, for sure.
Well, our job is done for this podcast, almost. Are we getting a longer meditation today?
Yeah, we'll do, we're going to try and separate the meditations, because what we were finding is that our podcast is normally about 20 minutes, and we like to try and keep it 20, 25. And then to add on a meditation, it becomes extended. And it's very difficult to shrink the meditations down. So we're going to let the meditations evolve more into 15, 20-minute normal meditations. I would say quickly on that, take part in the meditation as long as it's comfortable for you as a person. If you're just doing the guided meditation the first minute or two, namaste, fantastic. We're happy that you do that. If you can follow us all the way through, towards the end, you'll hear me go more into the music and the chanting. Fantastic. Enjoy every moment of it. If it's only for the purpose of putting it on in the background while you're relaxing or even working on the computer and you have the meditation going in the background, we're happy about that too. There's no wrong way to use it, folks. That's what I would say.
Well, let's go to our meditation for today.
Welcome to our meditation portion for today. Our idea today is very simple. We'll focus on relaxation. We'll bring our attention to the stillness and peace that is always available. And today we just want to spend some time in that space and in accessing that energy. So we'll begin as normal. If you just sit comfortably in your chair, or if you're lying down, just find a comfortable space. If you're sitting, put your hands either on your lap, just supported, or on your knees. Initially, just feel the support of your body. Feel your feet on the floor, being supported by the ground. Feel your bottom on the seat, being supported. If you're lying down, feel your back being supported also. We'll just bring awareness now to our physical body. Let's start at our head area. Bring your attention to your head. Face and head area. And a really good way to do that is to bring attention to any muscles that you can access in your head area and tighten them momentarily. We're talking about just for, 5 seconds. You can squeeze the muscles in your face and forehead and the back of your head. So let's do that now. Just access any muscles you can, squeeze and hold. And let it go. Bringing attention to our neck and shoulders. Once again, access any muscles that you can in your neck and shoulders area. And we're going to do the same squeeze and hold those muscles. May help to raise your shoulders up as high as you can, up against your chin. So just do that now. And let them go. Bringing attention to our arms and fingers, hands. Access any muscles that you can in those areas What we're going to do is tighten all those muscles, bringing attention by squeezing the muscles as tightly as you can for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and let them go. Bringing attention to our chest and abdomen belly area. Access any muscles you can in your chest and belly, and just tighten those muscles. Hold them and tighten. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let them go. Bring your attention to your lower body, groin area, thighs, calves and feet, toes. Access any muscles that you can in those areas. Just access them and then hold. Squeezing tightly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now let them go. And in that way we have brought our attention to our physical body. Now we'll shift it and go a little deeper, bringing attention to our breath. As usual, we will use our breath counting method in the following way. Breathing in and out to the count of 1. We'll take a slight pause. Breathe in and out to the count of 2. I'll bring us through in just a moment. Breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your mouth. Breathing as deeply as you can, however, remaining comfortable in the breath. We do not want to overbreathe. Just a nice, strong, deep breath that still feels comfortable. We'll go from 1 through 10 and then repeat that process. So just do it with me now. Breathing in and out to the count of 1. And pause. In and out to the count of 2. And pause. In and out to the count of 3. And pause, breathing deeply and relaxed. In and out to the count of 4. And pause. In and out to the count of 5. And pause. In and out to the count of 6. And pause. Breathing in and out to the count of 7. And pause the breath. In and out to the count of 8. And pause. In and out to the count of 9. And pause. Breathing in and out to the count of 10. We simply repeat that process, counting from 1 to 10. When you reach 10, begin again. Remember, if the thinking mind comes back, if attention is drawn back to thinking mind, it's okay, it's normal. What we do in that case is acknowledge the thinking mind. Just acknowledge that it's there, recognize it for what it is, a thought pattern just floating by, and then ever so gently, with no judgment and with relaxation, bring attention back to the breath control. If you feel your breathing count going over 10, again, that's okay, relax. Once you recognize it, simply bring the count back to 1 and start over again. In a moment, we'll bring awareness to the music, but let's just stay in the silence just for a few moments. We'll now bring our attention to the music in the same way as we did with the breath count. The idea is simple. Attention and focus shifts to music. And just relax with the music. Let it take you where it will. Music in and of itself has a wonderful ability of keeping our focus and attention. If emotions arise with the music, let them be. Acknowledge that they're there. Give recognition to the feeling, whatever it may be, whether it's joyful or sad. Recognize it for what it is. And then return attention and focus back once again to the music and where it may be taking you. And we'll do that now. Maladoya, 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 Maraha, Maraha, Maladoya, 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 Maraha, 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 Jia, 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 Maladoya, Maraha, Maladoya, Maraha, Maladoya, Maraha, Maladoya, Maraha, Maladoya, 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 Tara here now, Tara here now, Tara here now. How Maladoya, Maraha, 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 Maladoya, 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 Now let's bring attention back to breath. Breathing in and out to the count of 1. Pausing momentarily. Breathing in and out to the count of 2. As we maintain attention and focus in this space, free from thought, whether that's momentarily or for minutes at a time, we choose to recognize that this space is always available. In the presence, in this essence, I have no bounds. I have no past. I have no future. All I have is right now. And in this present moment, all is well. Realize that this is our gift to ourselves. A safe space. A space that is always available. We are in the world and we're not of the world at this time. Now when you're ready, bring attention back to the physical body. Once again, feel your body being supported by the floor, your bottom being supported by the seat, your back being supported if you're lying down. Bringing awareness to the physical body that we inhabit. And if for a moment you can sense the self that it lives within that physical body, just acknowledge that. Acknowledge the observer, observing. And when you're ready, just open your eyes and come back to the present moment, to the room that you're in, the space that you inhabit. And know that you can bring this essence, this presence with you as you move forward from this space. Thank you for joining us today in our meditation. We pray for peace. We pray for stillness. We pray that all living beings are at peace and are still. Namaste.
So thank you, Frank, for another meditation. Well, there will be more coming up, and we're cutting them into sections. We've now got 2 or 3 that will be on our YouTube channel within the next few days, and we look forward to more of those. I just wanted to say it's a very small point, and I'll put the picture up yesterday. I was in the beautiful smallest of cities, can you call it that? Pescadero. Are you familiar with Pescadero? Very quaint. They've got 2 churches. They've got more churches than they have anything else, actually. A great delicatessen in their centre. They've got a wonderful shop that makes wonderful furniture, and the 2 people in there were just so much fun to talk to yesterday. But I went into their thrift store. I like going into the thrift store. I had an aunt who came here 50 years ago, my Aunt Bella, and she was in every thrift store in the world. But I've adopted the bug. But they had this most beautiful, about this size of a lighthouse, and I couldn't resist it. It cost me an absolute fortune. $2.50.
Oh, good man.
Really, really good. So I'm going to put that up as a picture. I thought that it drew me towards it yesterday.
I love that. That's fantastic. Yeah, as everybody knows, Lighthouse Wellness Community is our emblem,
our
community. Yeah.
So thank you for listening to another Lighthouse Wellness Community podcast. My name is Donagh McKeown.
My name is Frank O'Connor. Namaste, everybody. Thank you.